The BYU Cougars have reached the halfway point of the season at 6-0. There's a guy now on the sidelines helping them out. That's Connor Pay. What did he make of watching BYU beat Arizona on the sidelines? Also, what is he doing to help them as they get ready on a short week for Oklahoma State? We're talking about all of it. It's all ahead on today's show.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. And, of course, a big thank you to all of you who are everydayers with us right here on your original daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and get $20 off your first purchase. All right, please welcome in now, as he does every week here on the podcast, BYU team captain, and I guess now we're going to have to call him Coach Pay, speaking of Connor Pay. And Connor, how was your first foray into leading BYU to a 1-0 record? Are you going to retire with that sterling record intact right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm at this point, I'm wishing my coaching career would come to an end sooner, and my playing career could resume, But yeah, no, I guess I hope everybody understands that, like, even the offensive staff is joking, calling me Coach Pay, all this stuff, that I don't want that title in the slightest. I hope I've just made that clear to everybody that I am not qualified to be called that. Yeah, I've definitely not earned the right to be called that in any stretch.
Okay, are we gonna go like understudy pay then? Is that what we're gonna go with? Like we got some title for you in the interim while you're not playing, man. Come on now.
You can just leave it as is.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, well, here's a question. We're gonna go right to one of these questions. Send in one of our great listeners, our insiders group. Comes from Taylor, and he says this: will Connor consider coaching long term? Is that a plan maybe down the road for you?
I have considered it, because I do love football and I love the analytics of football. I'm kind of a junkie in that way. And I love studying and understanding what the coaches are thinking and why they're doing what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing. And so I think I have the mind for it if I wanted to do it. And obviously I love football. So, I mean, I have considered it. At the college level as like a career, not really. Just because I don't really want to come back in GA, and have to take more classes and get paid $1,200 a month, to work insane hours. So I don't know. There are some things that keep me from doing it, and so I don't know. We'll see. I definitely want to coach high school at some point, but as of right now, I don't think college coaching's on the table for me.
Well, by the time you probably get into high school coaching, my kids will be old enough, and I will send them to play for you. I'll just say that right off the top. So that's just you'll have at least 2 recruits
Let's go.
All right. So I also wanted to ask you, 6-0 right now for the BYU Cougars, like ranked 13th in the country. Give us a sense. What are the vibes around the team right now as you have a perfect record halfway through the season?
I mean, I know I've said this before, but it really is the truth that, like, none of us are surprised. This is where we expected to be. And so the mindset hasn't changed. Nobody's thinking about 6-0. We're thinking about how can we be 1-0 this week? Mm-hmm. What can we do Monday through Friday afternoon that's going to prepare us to go 1-0 Friday night? And that's the mindset we're in right now. And I think it's a good thing to keep that mindset, because as you keep doing that, you kind of see what's happening now. You look back and it's 2-0, it's 3-0, it's 4-0, it's 5-0, and it's it's a good mindset to be in, because you're able to reset every week and re-earn the right to play well every single week, which I think is a massive part of the game of football.
All right, I'm going to intersperse this question. This is a good one from Laramie because it relates to this. Ask this. Are the coaches having to say anything to keep the team humble and focused, or are the players, speaking of yourself and your fellow teammates, are you guys handling that internally?
I think a lot of that has come from us. as captains and as the leadership council, we meet once a week, to kind of see like, okay, what can the message to the team be? We have a players only meeting every Monday. Where the captains, we run that meeting and kind of share our message to the team, which ironically enough ends up being pretty synonymous with Kalani's message to the team usually. We're on the same page with a lot of stuff. And so that message has kind of come from the players because now, with the older captains like me and Tyler Batty and J-Rob, who've been on multiple teams now and kind of seen all the different directions it can possibly go, where we can kind of say like, okay, this is what we have to do this week to keep the train moving. It's like we got to avoid any type of complacency. We have to, every time you win, you got to double down on the details. I think Nick Saban said this on College Game Day last week, how he was much harder on his teams after they won versus when they lost. I think that's how kind of has to be here. We're even more so on top of making sure the details are done right with every win. Make sure no one's slipping, no one's slacking, and that's kind of something. We're sending something into the team's group chat every week about complacency and urgency and all that stuff, and so I think that message has been driven by the players and echoed and supported by Kalani and all the other coaches, which is what he wants.
I also wanted to ask you this. Obviously, you guys have gone from being the hunter to being the hunted. You guys were underdogs in your first four. You were underdogs in a lot of those games early on in the season. I can't remember exactly what the spreads were on those games. But now you're a favorite. You're going into this game against Oklahoma State where you're more than a touchdown favorite, according to our friends over at FanDuel. What's the mindset shift been like as you guys go, once again, like I said, from being hunted now being the hunted, having a target on your backs?
I mean, we felt like we had a target on our backs from the beginning. I think, like I said, the mindset doesn't change. Coach Woods has a saying that I love. It's the environment changes, we don't. And so it's I think that's how the team has to respond and move forward every week. It doesn't matter whether we're underdogs or whether we're favorites. It's you still have to prepare and work the same way if you want to win. And it's and kind of going back to everything I just said before, that's kind of how you avoid that complacency coming in. And that message has been there every single week, whether we are favored or not.
I can understand that. All right. So obviously coming out of that Arizona game, I've had a couple of people ask this question. It's kind of funny enough, like 3 or 4 people asked like the exact same variation. They said, as Connor was watching from the sideline, was there a particular play in that Arizona win that was his favorite play?
Ooh. Parker's touchdown to LJ is always exciting. I don't think we've ever called that play and not scored. And so every time when I heard that play come through, it's like, oh yeah, touchdown. And but there was a couple run plays where Arizona did something that's a little bit tricky to handle sometimes with some twists, some pressures that they did, and we picked it up perfectly. A couple guys buried some dudes, and we got like a 6 or 7 yard run. It's like, for me, those are my favorite plays of the game because I know how many reps and how long it's taken for us to really get that look down. Even if we only see it once or twice a game, like I know how many times we repped that all week, and then to go out in the game and see him execute it the right way and get yards was awesome.
How much credit are you taking for Bruce Mitchell's performance?
0.
Oh, come on.
That was Bruce is a phenomenal player. And we've known that ever since he switched over to O-line in the spring. We've known that. And people got to see a little bit of him against Kansas State and what he can do. And obviously center is a little bit of a different beast, but he handled it in stride, and I hardly had to do anything.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. We're going to talk more in particular about Oklahoma State coming up next. Got to get, obviously Connor's been watching a lot of tape and now that he's essentially in a pseudo coaching role. We'll dig into that momentarily right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Now, Game Time is here for you guys no matter what you want to go to events-wise, whether it's a BYU football game, a concert, theater event, a comedy show. They've got all the options for you guys. And the best part is they have tickets for everything, not just sports. They have a feature called Game Time Picks on their apps, which makes getting your tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Think about that. Filters out all the fluff to show you all the incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to search through thousands of other tickets to find the right option for you guys. I talk about this often. My favorite feature on the Game Time app is the all-in pricing feature. You toggle it, and all of a sudden it shows you exactly what the total amount is, fees included. I get so sick of going to other ticketing websites and having an avalanche of fees tacked on when I finally hit the checkout screen. You can toggle that in the Game Time app and know exactly what you're paying right up front. So take a guess work out of buying your tickets today and do it with our friends over at Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege to save $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off your purchase. Download Game Time today. And of course, what time is it? It is game time. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. Rolling on here with BYU team captain and I guess understudy / coach / all-around good gentleman, Connor Pate, on today's show. Now, Connor, it's a compressed schedule this week with a Friday night matchup. You have one less day of preparation. Give our listeners and or viewers a sense of when you have one less day of prep, how much extra work does it really create, or does it in some ways maybe take some work off of your plate?
Oh, excuse me. No, it definitely adds in the sense of it's the same amount of work as any other week. You just have one less day to do it all. And so yesterday was a long day. I think I got to the facility around 7 a.m. To get started on some film stuff. I had to do just my rehab regimen for my foot. And I think I left the facility at about 9:45 last night. And so we had to cram a Monday and a Tuesday together.
Okay.
To where it's like, okay, here's what we would normally accomplish on a Monday. Had to do all that in the morning. What do we normally accomplish on a Tuesday? Got to do all that in the afternoon and then go out and practice like a Tuesday practice. And today was like a Wednesday practice. And tomorrow will be like a third. Everything's just shifted up a day. And so, you have to get through that same amount of film, those same clips, so that you're educated on what we're going over at practice. But your time to do it is just cut short. And so, obviously, for me as an individual, I'm trying to watch every clip Oklahoma State has played this year. And I've probably done that. I've probably watched every play a couple times now, just different situations or just watching games all the way through. But that's stuff you have to get through so that you can be prepared to go out and help each other at practice, so the coaches can be prepared to install the game plan for meetings and all that stuff. And so, yeah, there hasn't been a lot of sleep amongst at least the coaches for sure. I know the coaches have had some extremely long nights.
You're already living the coaching lifestyle. 7 a.m. to 9:45. Come on, dude. You fit right in. I like it. Now, I also wanted to ask you, so Oklahoma State comes off of a bye week, but they lost 3 straight games going into that bye. So I'm expecting them to be a fairly desperate squad as they come to Provo for this one. You mentioned the fact you've seen every play that they have run this season multiple times, particularly, I'm sure, with that defensive line. What do you see on tape? What are you expecting from this Cowboys team?
I mean, obviously they're having a hard time as a team right now, but they're still extremely talented individually. Like they're having, obviously they're trying to use their bye week, I'm sure, to fix some of the issues they're having holistically. But when you look at them pound for pound in each player, you're like, man, these guys, just like last year, like these guys are really talented. Like a lot of these dudes that were on the team that went to the Big 12 championship last year are still on that team. And, and for whatever reason, they haven't been able to put it together as well, but they're just as talented and just as dangerous, as they were last year. And so by no stretch do we care at all that they have gone 0-3 in the last 3 weeks, because it's like your record never tells the full story. And so, we're going into this game prepared to play that Big 12 champion caliber team that Oklahoma State often brings to the table, because it's true, they do. They have their backs against the wall right now. So I expect them to come out and play probably their best game of the year, because they have to if they want their season, to go forward. And so for us, it's like, okay, we have to match that intensity. It's like, okay, we have to practice like our season's on the line and it depends on it. You have to bring that same intensity and match that and exceed it. You have to practice every day like the national championship is on the line, because now that we're 6-0 and atop the conference, that's a reality for us, of winning the conference and going to the college football playoff to compete for a national championship is a reality for this team. And so it's like you have to practice every day like the national championship's on the line. And I'm sure that's what Oklahoma State's doing. And you see flashes of it on tape. They just haven't been able to put it together for full games yet this year. But you see enough of it to know it's there. And so, I think as long as we keep the right mindset and prepare the right way, we're going to be able to go out there and play well. But this is a really talented team.
How much are you buying the excuse that Mike Gundy said that one of his cows headbutted him? Did you hear about this?
No.
So he has his press conference typically in person on Mondays. They moved it to a Zoom session, essentially just audio only this week, because as he said, I got into it with my cattle. They apparently were watching Oklahoma State football and headbutted me. He said, I've got a bloodshot eye that doesn't make my face look very pretty. So he decided to cancel his in-person press conference.
Well, poor Coach Gundy. First of all, that sucks. Yeah, that's brutal. I didn't know that. I haven't really been on social media much the last couple days, so I missed that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So hey, fun times in Stillwater, because
I hope he's good.
Well, he made light of it, obviously saying that my cattle apparently were watching us play because we haven't been playing very well, but at the same time. Now, you mentioned the fact that you guys took on this team last year. This is one of those teams that you guys actually have holdover from last year with the experience there. You guys came up short in a heartbreaker last year in double overtime. How much does that stick with you as you go into this matchup against Oklahoma State?
Oh, I mean, how can it not? For the guys who played in it, that was our chance to go to a bowl game, and we were in complete control of that game for 2.5 quarters, and then we let it get away from us. And, so obviously that stings a little bit. Like, that sucks. And, so in a sense, we definitely feel like we owe them one, and I think all the guys who played in that game last year, or who were at least on the team and on the sidelines, all kind of feel that way. Like, hey, like you took something from us last year a little bit.
All right. Now, obviously, the weather is going to change. It's crazy. We got into mid-October with it still being in the 70s and the 80s. But are you doing the praying hands? Because do you like the cold weather?
I love it. I love it. I'm excited for it.
So you're looking forward to this 40-degree, 30-degree nonsense on Friday night, then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you got to understand. Like, I'm so fat. Like, I'm so hot all the time. I have a permanent winter coat on 24/7. So it is so rare for me to be able to throw on a hoodie and some sweats and be all cozy. Okay. I'm going to be able to go to this game in my most comfy hoodie, a nice pair of sweats, and I'm going to be feeling awesome.
You're not having to wear the game day polo or whatever the coaches are going to wear here? Come on now.
No, good grief. Good grief. Yeah, like I said, not even close to that. If I even asked for one of those, I'd get laughed out of the equipment room.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, that's like, I was tempted to ask for a headset. But there are Big 12 rules that, I mean, honestly, they probably would have given me one if they weren't big. Yeah, just so I could, because honestly, Coach Woods is so in the zone during the games. He rarely tells me what the play is.
Oh, okay.
Like, he hears it in the headset, and sometimes, depending on his mood, he'll like, okay, it's this play, and I'm like, sweet, and so it's like, but then it was like I got maybe a tenth of the plays told to me before they run. So I'm like, okay. Oh, there's the formation. There's the motion. Okay, what are we running? Oh, yeah, okay, I got it. And so thankfully we have the Surface Pros on the sideline now, and I just kind of went through and hurry and boom, boom, rewatch the drive, and then I know what's going on.
Okay, fair enough. Now, the other thing about this is there cold weather, but also potential wet, just snow, rain. How much does that change, obviously? And obviously, I'm sure there's concern. I've got it on the questions here from our listeners. What's the concern level about the field holding up and having the right footwear, et cetera, for the guys?
Oh, I don't think we'll run into that problem again. Because the grass is a million times better than it was last year. Mm-hmm. And because everyone has a pair of screw-ins in their locker to wear if they need it.
Okay.
And so it's mandatory that those are brought to games now. And so that even if you go out in your normal cleats and you feel yourself slipping a little bit, you can just go throw your other ones on and it's all good.
All right. Well, looking forward to it. Should be a fun one on Friday night. Connor, you can look for him. Here's what you need to do. You need to put it out on social media. You got to do your fit check ahead of the game and let Cougar fans know what you're wearing. How about that?
It's an idea.
Connor
I might do it. I'll consider that.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. All right. We are going to finish up this edition of Locked On Cougars with Connor Pay. Coming up next, it is your time to shine. Speaking to you, the listeners, our Locked On Cougars Insider Group sent a bunch of questions in. We'll get to as many in the time remaining as we have right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Now, Game Time is here for you guys to get you wherever you need to go when it comes to your sports betting needs. The best part is it's a super simple and easy to use app. I absolutely think it's incredible. I already referred to it earlier today, but FanDuel has got BYU as a pretty handy favorite over Oklahoma State on Friday night. If you want to take advantage of that, you can go over to our friends at FanDuel, as they are America's #1 sports book. So you get the hunch in the middle of a game, whether it's BYU or any other. You can check on the latest stats, you live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you're placing your bets. The best part is you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel. It's $200 bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's simple as that, my friends. Take advantage of it today. It's all courtesy of your friends over at FanDuel. Once again, go to FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, that's FanDuel. Of course, they are America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. If you have not done so already and like to ask questions to Connor Pay, have a chance to win all kinds of prizes, interact with me one-on-one, join the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. You get a one-on-one interaction via text message with myself. I encourage you guys to sign up today, a 14-day free trial. Click the link in the show notes below and join us with the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. All right, Connor Pay, before we go on today's show, let's get to some of these questions sent in by our good friends, our listeners. First, question comes in here. Josh says this: what was Connor's favorite moment from homecoming?
Was that something I'm expected to attend?
I don't know. Are you supposed to attend anything? Did you run the 5K?
I found out on Twitter that it was homecoming week this week. I have no idea. So okay. I participated in nothing.
Okay.
I don't know if that's in reference to the game or
the festivity.
I've never attended a homecoming of any kind since I've been at BYU. So,
well,
I don't have much to say on that one.
I'm fairly certain you didn't hike the Y or run in the 5K. I'm sure those two were probably off the table with that scooter.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do those if I had a clean bill of health. So.
Fair enough. Let's see. Good question here from Marcus. Ask him if BYU could add one player essentially from another Big 12 school that would be an immediate game changer. Who would it be and why?
Ugh, nobody. Gosh.
Fair enough.
I'm not interested in any of those guys.
Rolling with your guys. I like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with what our locker room looks like right now. And the guys that, there's that old quote, that don't feast with anybody you didn't starve with.
Hey,
so I'm not interested in any of them.
Okay. Next one. This one comes from Mark, and he's asked me to ask this a couple of times, and I'll get your thought on this because I think it's a nuanced thing. He says, why don't BYU's linemen or anyone else for that matter really get in on pushing our guys downfield when they get into one of those scrums? He says there's been numerous times this year where the running back has 2 or 3 defenders pushing against them, and while the runner's trying to turn his legs, they don't really have anybody coming to back them up. Is that a philosophy thing? What's the situation there?
No, I think that's just something that we just got to do. Okay. I know for me personally, when I'm on the field, sometimes I'm so focused on my person and my blocking that I don't really know what's going on with the running back the majority of the time. And so if I look over and I go, there's a pile, I'm gonna book it over there and try to go and hit it. But I have a tendency to, in the middle of my blocks, look to see where the running back is, and Coach Wood's been ripping me for that for the last 6 months. And so, at least for me personally, I've been trying to stay on my person. Don't look at the running back. I'm gonna get ripped in meetings on Monday. Don't look at the running back. And so it's just make sure my guy doesn't make the tackle. And,
okay.
But no, that's just something we got to do. We gotta notice when that's happening and get out there and go get an extra couple yards.
So laser focus. I like that. There you go. I can respect that. And if the coach is already getting on you about it, I can understand you're also the same thing. I don't want to screw up here. I don't want to get yelled at. I can understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Another good question here. This comes from Carter, and this refers to your brother Austin, actually. He says this: can I ask Connor what he thinks about Austin and his play this year and what he sees in his future? Is he a mission kid? And any thoughts on how the recruiting overall is going?
It's going good. Austin's I would never say this to his face, so hopefully he doesn't watch this. But Austin's a pretty elite player for a high school level kid. And I'm always on him about how he's got to get better every week and all this stuff. And now he hasn't arrived, so I really hope he doesn't see this. But, he's for a high school player, he's elite. And he has every intangible you'd ever want. He's 6'7", 300 pounds. And he runs well. And so, and the recruiting has been good. Even though he's narrowed his school list down in the last little bit, to probably just down to 4 schools or so.
Okay.
The calls keep coming in from all over the country from pretty massive schools that are just trying to get in here at the last second and see what they can do. And so, his recruitment's going well. And I think it's a lot better for him now that he's narrowed his list down a little bit. It was tough sledding there for a little bit when he had 40, 50 offensive line coaches texting him on a daily basis. That's a little overwhelming. And so, I think he's doing a good job. Obviously, my personal opinion is he needs to play better. I don't think he kind of comprehends in his mind yet just how dominant he could be at the high school level. And so I'm trying to kind of help him tap in to that side mentally. It's dude, do you understand how terrible these players are? In high school, and how tiny they are. You should be destroying them on every single play. And it's really just a mindset thing. And I think it's just it's something you just have to train, and it has to become habit. Just destroying people on every play has got to become a habit. And so, but I think he's improved every game this year. And so that's all you can ask for.
Now, he also did ask if you've been out to some Lone Peak games, but I can assure everybody that you have been out to those games because you and I have talked during games. Yeah. And I will also say this: I am actually going to be on the call tonight. This will be going up on our Wednesday show. I'll be on the call tonight for that Westlake Lone Peak game on the KSL Sports Zone and KSL Rewind. So,
that game's tomorrow night.
Yeah, Wednesday night. I'm fairly certain. Yeah. So.
Oh well, thank you for telling me. Nobody in my family told me that. I for sure thought it was on Thursday again.
Well, come on over. I
have no plans to go to a game tomorrow night. Now I do. Is it at Westlake?
Yeah, it's at Westlake. Come hang out at Casa de Hatch, and you can be my aunt.
I don't want to drive to Westlake. It's on KSL.
It'll be streaming online. You can hear my
maybe I'll watch that one from home.
You can love.
I don't want to drive to freaking cow pie town.
Hey, I live in that cow pie town. Thank you very much. No, here's the thing. If you do watch it, please text me your analysis. I will just work it in on my call. How about that?
Sounds good. I'll just feed you what to say the whole game.
Totally cool with that. All right. A couple more questions here before we go. This comes from Luke. I'm going to morph this a little bit because his original question, I think, needs to be morphed a little bit. It says, based on what you're hearing from scouts and coaches, what's the latest with regards to your future in the NFL regarding the injury and the like? You're hearing anything on that front?
Yeah, no, I actually had the chance to chat with a few scouts last week who were at practice. And, the nice thing about a Jones fracture and putting a pin in it is, one, it's super common. And two, once it's healed, the risk of re-injury is almost zero.
Okay.
And so when I was asking the scouts about that, they're like, hey, you're going to be back around Utah, Kansas, right? And I was like, yep. And they're like, it's a Jones fracture. And I was like, yeah. They're like, okay, we're not worried about it. It's just because Jones fractures happen in the NFL all the time, every year, and it's like we've talked about, put a screw in it, wait 4 or 5 weeks, and you're good to go. And so, I think in that sense, at least this group of 6 or 7 scouts who are at practice, they were all like, yeah, we're not concerned about it at all. And so, no, the NFL stuff is going good. I think obviously playing well helps. And we talked a lot about that at the end of last year and my decision to come back to BYU, where the teams that win the most games get the most guys drafted, at the end of the day. And so it's I think everyone's draft stock is increasing right now because we're playing well.
Now, I'll finish off with this. What is the latest on your foot? Where do things stand right now? Are that timeline still holding? You mentioned the Utah, Kansas, right in that time frame. Is it still holding there? Yeah.
So Utah is definitely still the goal. More realistic is Kansas. Just because, I got my cast off this morning and met with the surgeon, and everything looks great. He's really happy. But I'll get another set of x-rays here in a couple weeks, and if those look good, then I can become weight bearing.
Okay.
The nice thing is being in a boot, I can take the boot on and off. I can do a lot of manual therapy and things like that. Like I can do a lot more stuff versus the cast, and there's a lot of unique ways that the strength staff's going to have me compress my legs and condition me to get my lungs back and things like that. So that's all super helpful, but I'm still non-weight bearing for the next couple weeks. And that's just because it's just bone. It's just time. It just takes time. And so the hope is that I'll get another set of x-rays, and if those look really good, then I'll get a CT scan so we can kind of get a real detailed look at that bone and how it's healing. And if that looks good, then he's going to clear me to become weight bearing. But that clearing would be on the Monday of the week of the Utah game. Okay. And so the hard part is, can I realistically go from being cleared to walk on a Monday to playing in a college football game on Saturday? And that's where like re-injury risk, that has to be a factor. And then we talked about that this morning, not necessarily with my foot, but with other parts of my body, where it's like, look, you haven't been playing football in a month and a half. And so it's like, we got to make sure your Achilles is ready. We got to make sure your calf is ready. We got to make sure your hammies and quads are ready. And so, we kind of talked it out that the best route, the safest route will probably become weight bearing the week of the Utah game. I practice non-added that whole week just so I can get my legs back, work my footwork without putting all that massive force through my foot yet when I'm trying to drive people, and then kind of have a full week for my body to kind of reacclimate to the football field, and then come back and be full tilt the week of Kansas. And so I think Kansas is probably the more realistic thing right now. He said, if I look at that CT and there's a thick layer of bone around that fracture and it just looks absolutely phenomenal, then maybe I'll tell you like, hey, we might be able to push it a little bit for this Utah game. But Kansas is probably the most realistic. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, I think everybody understands that there is being in shape and there's also being in game shape when it comes to football. Right. Like when you just it takes some time to get back into that. Well,
Connor, I want to be back for the Holy War. Obviously, that game means a ton to me. But it's I can't, as much as I love that game and want to play in that game, I can't be an idiot. So.
You got a future to plan for it as well to kind of balance those two things. We all understand that. But Connor, as always, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. Best of luck as you move forward here against Oklahoma State this week. We'll chat again next week as you guys get ready to head into Orlando, as they like to say in a certain musical.
Yep. Thanks for having me. It's always a blast.
No, always good to have you on, my man. All right, that's Connor Pay. I'm Jake Hatch. A big thank you, as always, for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. Appreciate all of you for being with us. Thank you once again to all of you who are everydayers as well. And until tomorrow, have a great rest of your day. This has been the Locked On Cougars podcast.